You're listening to the new 52. No, wait. Episode 52 of Fresh Floppies.
Nailed it.
The new 52.
The newest.
The
newest 52.
The next 52 episodes will be weekly.
And we're all going to have collars.
Yeah, they're collars and high collars and capes. It's going to be great. And also, apparently, the last 30 years of continuity will not really matter. Yeah.
Everything matters. What's up to our sidekicks and henchfolk out there in the Geek Nation? You're currently tuning in to Fresh Floppies, the show where Noel and I, JD, discuss the brand new books that are hitting shelves today at your local comic shop. But fear not, we will not spoil everything.
We're going to spoil everything.
No, we're not going to. We talked about this.
We're
not going to spoil.
But they're so short, we could just spoil them. You know what?
It'd be so easy.
Yeah, there are some people who believe that if you spoil everything and just do recaps, then it saves time.
I hate that.
I hate it too.
I hate it so much. I have people come into the shop and they're like, "Oh yeah, I heard about this blah blah blah." I'm like, "Oh yeah, you reading it?" No. I just watch a YouTube that tells me what happens. I'm like, "What? That's a thing?"
Yeah, I mean, audiobooks are great, but all right.
Yeah, okay. Well, anyway, if you're into reading actual comic books, we call them floppies.
Like periodicals that come out weekly, in order to tell a sprawling narrative across multiple chapters with no end in sight.
It's true.
Yet a beginning every week.
Blood Hunt number 2. Oh,
I think it's important to filibuster just a brief second about the fact that last week we were struggling to talk about what books, because
I'll be honest,
not because they're bad, just because it was like a really light week.
I felt bad putting the show out because I was like, I didn't enjoy most of this.
It's okay. Like,
not a good week.
We're going to talk about a bunch of books today because there was a deluge of content this week. Some of them we loved, some of them we hated, but anytime that we talk about something we don't like, we be as articulate and direct as possible and not just shit on stuff.
Yeah. And I'm not just going to post a poop emoji.
Yeah, those are the rules.
Trash can.
Yeah.
So, Blood Hunt number 2 from
Trash.
Marvel. Jed McKay, Pepe Larraz, Marta Gracia. And just right off the bat, presentation, it's thinner than I thought it would be. This is a thin book. Yeah. But the Pepe Larraz cover and the colors on the cover immediately sucked me in. So, we both enjoyed, surprisingly so, Blood Hunt number 1, yes? I mean, it was surprising to me.
It wasn't surprising to me just because I love the creative team. I kind of knew I would dig it. I was surprised how structurally impressive it was as a first issue and event. It was great. I loved it. I absolutely loved it. And like, this is a classic issue 2. Not in any bad way or great way. It's just, so the first issue really was 0 to 60 out the gate, gave you a lot of information, and then a good cliffhanger. This issue, in comparison to that, is slower.
Yeah.
But it settles down, sets up the actual main characters of this miniseries, and gives a little bit more information. Has a solid little happy cliffhanger.
Yeah. And again, the art. I can't get over the Pepe Larraz art. It's so good. Every page is gorgeous. So because of Blood Hunt 1 and Jed McKay's writing in that, I went back and I read the first volume of his Avengers from, I would say, last year. And there's a lot of similarities between Blood Hunt and Avengers Volume 1 from Jed McKay. He introduces another cabal of villains in that first one. Very much
the Ashen Combine.
Ashen Combine, thank you. Yeah. You never would have remembered that. It's just 2 words thrown together.
And the Twilight Council was also one that was fighting the Ashen Combine? Whatever.
Is he doing this a lot? Like just introducing a bunch of crazy characters and then defeating them?
I think twice so far.
Yeah. So that felt very much like, the Blood Coven. Another cabal of evil doers. These ones are vampires and they've all got ridiculous names that I'll never remember.
Also, this wasn't let up anywhere. This is all
brand new
from Jump.
Yeah. I was talking to a customer. I assumed Blade, the series that just ended, was leading into this.
It might subtextually, but not in any kind of direct way. So there's an in the Blade series. The Blade series is great, by the way. The 10 issue miniseries.
I only read the first issue and I liked it.
It's so effing good. But There are a couple of plot points in there of Blade needing to do some uneasy things and or make uneasy alliances, and I wouldn't be surprised if they retroactively say like, oh, he was corrupted to get to this point or something.
Okay.
But it's not in any kind of like real. There's no piece of the story you missed. There's no like, where did they introduce this stuff? No, it's all on the page.
All brand new.
Yeah.
Hey, do you know much about Blade's daughter?
Brielle?
Yeah.
Bloodline?
I did not read that.
I know of her. I know that I think her abilities are more just nighttime. I think it's kind of like I think she only like gets super powerful when the sun is not.
Oh.
Yeah, it's kind of like a reverse vampire.
Okay.
I think.
Sure.
Somebody can correct me, but I read the first tie-in, the Dracula Bloodline.
Yes.
And I got the impression that she is not full power all the time.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
But yeah, this very fresh.
Yeah, this is
great.
super fresh. I love this book. It is a normal. So this week we also didn't read the bloody version. So we'll see what's different with
red
that.
band.
Yeah. There's an anniversary comic this week.
Oh yes.
It's called the Amazon
Spiderman.
There's a dash there, so it's Spider, and then you wait, man.
Number 50, Legacy issue 900. Anniversary Legacy number 944 by Zeb Wells, the much maligned on Twitter Zeb Wells, with art by Ed McGuinness. I have fallen behind on this book, but I like Ben Reilly. I have a Ben Reilly tattoo. And so I went back and I caught up with Ben Reilly and Hallows Eve just to see where they left off with those cats. And then I jumped number 49 and jumped straight into 50. I'll tell you, Ed McGuinness on this book is wonderful.
Yeah, I mean, so when they first announced this book, I think it was somewhere around 50 issues ago.
Dork.
It was the main artist was John Romita Jr. But immediately the secondary main artist was Ed McGuinness.
Yeah.
So like they trade off full arcs, and then you got fill-ins by like Todd Knock and stuff every once in a while, like 1 or 2 issues. He's awesome.
Yeah.
He's absolutely awesome.
Todd Knock I did not like him back in the day when he was drawing Young Justice.
I meant Ed McGuinness. But yes, Todd Knock stuff in the last couple of issues has been really great too.
Yeah.
He actually does the coda at the very end of this. You read the whole issue, right?
I did.
Okay, because there's it's one of those anniversary issues. It's first of all, it's a slightly larger main story.
Thick boy.
And then there are 3 mini short stories by different creative teams, like 4 or 5 pages each. But then, after an ad in the back, there's a coda onto the main story, which was drawn by Todd Knock, not
Ed
McGuinness.
Yeah.
So I think a lot of people will probably just like stop at the ad and think the rest of the book is ads. Mm-hmm. There are 4 extra pages at the end of this book that matter to the ongoing plot.
Yeah.
Also, I did read I read the letters page too.
Oh.
This Doctor Strange story in the back by Joe Casey. Apparently it leads somewhere.
I mean, it's got to. I was curious about this.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm assuming it's probably going to be a miniseries or something.
The end, ... For
it
now.
It is Joe Casey, right? Joe Kelly.
But the main story, it's so dumb. I loved it. And the back and forth between Peter and Norm and their, I thought of this first, and then no, I thought of this first, and then nope, I outsmarted you.
This book
is fun.
Okay. Ultimately, I really liked it.
Yeah.
But it felt super fast in kind of like a jarring way. So like there's a relatively large reveals here, and then it really does amp up to what I'm assuming is like the last third or the end of this like larger arc.
Yeah.
And it's just at first it seems like the reveals come out of nowhere because honestly the last like 7 or 8 issues of this book have not dealt with any of the plot points in this issue. Like it was all Ben Reilly stuff, and then it was Hallows stuff, then it was gang war, and it was like literally nothing about this. And then in this issue too, as it's going, and you're like, okay, that seems kind of fast, but that's cool. They're showing me the issues where these plot points were from, so it starts to ease the landing. It starts to soften the landing of like, oh, this actually happened in 827. This actually was in 80 or 904. This was it. So like, it started like the plotting of it made me feel a certain way, but then as it kept going, I was like, okay, yeah, this is actually the main plot of the book. Everything else has been more or less just side quests.
Yeah.
Yes.
Oh, for sure. Yeah.
But this book comes out so frequently that it felt
see you in 2 weeks.
rushed.
Yeah. Said the letters page.
It's weird. It's like it's I think it's kind of the same thing with noise levels. It's coming out so much.
Yeah.
Everything's so loud, it starts to get noise. And then when something really actually, like, air quotes, important happens, it's the same level as everything else. So it's like I needed to step back and be like, this is really cool. As opposed to, wait, why would he do that right away? That doesn't make any sense. I feel like we haven't done this long. Like, it's a weird dissonance.
I had that problem with the Nick Spencer run.
Where everything was happening all the time?
Fuck, man. That was rough. And it was just, I got numb after a while, and I just couldn't wait for it to end. This, I think, is paced a lot better than the Nick Spencer run. I wasn't surprised. Like, I didn't think that this was too quick of a reveal or anything. I don't think anything went too quickly for me personally. I was on board. I thought it was really fun. I'm glad that all of this stuff with Norman has finally come to a head.
Everyone's been waiting for this for so long, too, though, so it probably won't feel like that. But it's just, like, when I approach a single issue, I usually will try and do it with as blank of a mind as possible. And the first reveal was cool. The second little reveal was like, oh shit, and then it went from 0 to 60 from there.
Okay.
There wasn't really like a, oh wait. It was more like a ha-ha, and then they just went. So like it was very comic booky, and it was really really good, and the art is fantastic. But I gotta tell you,
double page splash spreads from
it's all beautiful.
McGinnis. It's goddamn great.
There was 1 or 2 parts where I was just like, oh, it seems like we ripped the Band-Aid off pretty quick, but all right. Like, it feels like they're getting ready to finish.
Right.
Which sometimes I don't like to feel.
Yeah.
But I love the stuff with the living brain. I love the stuff with... they've been making really, really specific references in this entire run that date back like to Amazing Fantasy 16.
Yeah.
Which I think is really cool. I love this run. And unlike the Nick Spencer one, I'm still reading it and enjoying it.
Yes.
I just dropped off that one because
the hate on this book is so forced, I think. Like, I understand there were some problems maybe with the beginning. And
the Miss Marvel stuff.
Miss Marvel stuff as well.
I think that was definitely a misstep, but not a malicious misstep. So, I think people are at bad faith applying their preferences to this book, and it's just really petulant.
Yeah.
I thought this was Freshest out. This is a really fun jumping on issue.
Yeah, I love this. This is great. All right. What are we doing? Nightwing?
We're going to Fallen Grayson, Part 1, Fear to Leap.
I jumped on this book because I've been in and out of this book.
Sorry, to be clear, Nightwing number 114 by Tom Taylor and Bruno Redondo.
Yes.
Go.
And I was like, oh, this is number 1. I could just jump on this Fallen Grayson 1 of 5 story, and it's a good jumping on point. I feel like everything you need to know, you could just you're told in this issue. There's a bad guy. You don't really need to know his motivations. You just need to know he's the bad guy who's coming for Grayson. Blah blah blah. The one thing I didn't know is that starting back in issue 107, Grayson now has fear of heights or fear of jumping off from great heights.
Dick is a scaredy cat.
Yeah. I thought that was neat.
Yeah, it's they've been seeding it for a little bit, 7 months to be precise.
Yeah.
They've been seeding it for a little bit. This he's starting to get kind of like doubts and the shakes as opposed to just leaping, and now it's kind of progressed to a full blown kind of. I wouldn't go as far as to say PTSD because he doesn't have like episodes that stops him. It's just literally that impulse is like removed.
Yeah.
That reckless or fearless impulse is just kind of like not there anymore, and he doesn't understand why.
I'm curious to see what that's about, but I like that it is a mystery and that we don't know what it is. I myself have gone through bouts of something like that where it's just like all of a sudden, boom. Wait, what?
Yeah.
This was not a problem yesterday. All of a sudden, this is a problem. So I like that sort of thing.
And they're being cagey about, obviously, for the mystery of it all, but at this point, I still don't know if it's something internal or something that's being done to him, and they kind of allude to both, so it's kind of fun. There is a discourse online. I don't know if you saw it because I commented on way too many things about single issue comic pacing.
Oh.
A couple of people. It kind of got a little viral in comic Twitter about here's 2 pages with 18 panels, and it could have been 2. Why is this book $6?
I did see that.
Stuff like
yes.
that.
Very angry.
It was very angry.
Like, okay.
And they blamed Bendis, which is also in a weird way fair, but also not fair at all. We've talked about this on the show before. It kind of made me think about the difference between like writing for issues or writing for trade.
Yeah.
When you read a new comic book and it just seems like the middle of a sentence or falls off or not much actually occurs, just like a lot of that to me is like, oh, this was conceived as a graphic novel and they just kind of arbitrarily chopped it up into 20 pages. A comic like Grayson or like Nightwing, this is a comic book first.
Yes.
It will be collected later. But this is a comic book issue because everything you need is in this. There is a full 3-act structure within these 20 pages. It is paced perfectly, and the panel layouts make you kind of like flow through it.
Yeah.
So when somebody's just like, what do you mean the difference? Like, everything's written for the trade. It's not.
No.
There are comic books, and then there are, I don't know, ongoing graphic novel stories that just kind of happen, which we'll talk about today. There's one or two that I was just like, this should have been longer because it leaves you nowhere.
Yes.
But this was great.
I'm okay with writing for the trade when you're talking about story length. Like, oh, you know what? For Amazing Spider-Man, we needed a story that's 5 issues long, and so you kind of write it for like 5 issues because you can just buy a single thing.
Each issue does not have to read like it's an unfinished story.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But that's not writing for the trade. That's comics being collected later. And the arc is this long.
Okay.
Like
I think arcs are planned out to be a trade length arc.
Yes, but each comic should read like a comic book with a full arc within it.
Yeah.
Writing for the trade is basically saying it's a 100-page story and we're just going to chunk it out, as opposed to plan 100 pages worth of content and arcs that do read digestible for chunks.
I didn't realize that's not how I use the phrase, but I guess that makes more sense. Yeah.
It decompressed storytelling.
Yeah.
Like Bendis doing it for like Ultimate Spider-Man was definitely like writing for the trade. It was decompressed to the point where Spider-Man didn't even show up in a suit until issue 7.
Yeah.
It was entertaining. It was great. I really loved it. Yeah. But people continuously doing that for the next 25 years means you have less. Yeah. They're not saying more. They're saying less over a longer period of time.
I also don't want to discount the fact that a writer and an artist may want your eyes to slow down, and they want time to freeze, right? They want time to freeze for the reader. In the same way that a director will make slow motion, right, to impress upon the viewer sort of the gravity of what's happening in the story. Panel layout is conceived in such a way, if it's done well, that it slows the reader down. It freezes time for them so that they are able to take in the importance of what's happening. The pages that were tweeted about today, I don't really know.
I don't know the context.
What they were.
No, it wasn't even about the pages tweeted. It was just about the idea, the discourse.
Yeah.
You are giving examples of why it functions, not why it should be used. To me, this isn't a binary. Like, you can have an entire silent comic book.
Oh, yes.
And it still feels like a 3-act structure within the 25 pages that are allotted to it that build towards a larger story, as opposed to just being, this was a middle paragraph.
Right.
Okay.
Sure.
Like, it's really just about, like, the process. And if something, what I believe is that people are kind of too rigid in their structures, in so much as, well, it's a 22-page comic book, so I have to make it 22 pages whether it functions that way or is supposed to be that way or not. Yeah. Like, we should let the creative team or the storytelling dictate what it is. So if that means 3 40-page issues, cool. If that means 12 20-page issues, cool. Not arbitrary chunk it up because it'll sell better collected later. But still charge people $5.99 or $6.99 for a cover stock or cardstock cover or something like that. Like, I didn't have a problem with Gods because that was 85 pages, one full story arc. It was the same size as, honestly, like the last Ed Brubaker and Phillips book for $24.99 in hardcover. Yeah. For $9.99, that's fine. Yeah. But when you have, Nightwing, this is not the book, but like Nightwing 105 for $7.99, and it doesn't give you any kind of closure or story. Yeah, I would be frustrated. I think that is frustrating.
Yeah, no, I understand that.
Square in a hole, right? Yeah. Square in a circle shape
But
face.
again, this is not that.
No,
Nightwing
not that
is
at all.
Not that.
This is a good example of comic books that are
Yeah.
doing incredibly well in their incredible experiences in the issue format. You don't have to wait for trade for everything.
Also, one of the things that I really appreciate about Tom Taylor's run on Nightwing is the interactions between the Bat family. I find it all to be very charming.
You're a sucker for Bat fan.
All right, Judgment Day from Archie Comics.
Archie Comics : Judgment Day #1.
Story by
Aubrey Sitterson. Main cover and art by Megan Hutchinson, with covers by Matt Herms. So I saw the solicits for this book roughly 3 months ago, and the creative team was like, "Oh, I follow that person on Twitter, and I really have loved that person's other stories. I would love to try this because I do enjoy." Archie comics and weird Archie comics.
I do like weird Archie
Afterlife
comics.
with Archie and The Hunger and Vamp Veronica.
Yeah.
Great stuff.
Yeah.
So I was excited about this book.
Okay. Oh, and I got the cover that's by Jay Lee, which is gorgeous. I love this cover. It's a nice cover. Go on.
This book is a little rough, but to me, it's not rough because of the effort. It's just paced really poorly.
Yeah, it is.
I had to reread the first 2 pages to know what the fuck was going on twice. There's something to be said, or an art to you just drop your audience into a conflict.
In media res?
Yeah,
No.
smash cut media
Yeah,
res. Yeah. There's something to be said about that. You know, like you enter a scene mid sentence and you leave before they're done. Like that is
I'm a
awesome.
sucker for it. I love it.
I don't know if this is the right match of artist and smash to really make that work, especially for the very first scene. The very first scene is the entirety of all the plot, just all of it, and it's a bit of a mess. And what makes me kind of like sad about it is that such a good idea for an opening sequence. There is work, there is effort, there's intricacies on here, but the dialogue, it's not dialogue, it's word bubbles, word text boxes.
Yeah.
The text boxes are flowery and poetic and don't really give you specifics, and the art is all over the place, showing like a mosaic, and they don't match. They don't sing with each other. And then it smashes to the next scene that has no relation to the previous. It's a bit of a mess.
This was rough.
It's a bit of a mess.
I think this is the first thing I opened up. This Jay Lee cover, I was like, ooh, spooky Archie. I like me some spooky Archie. And even the first page, you open it up, and I'm like, oh, I like that. It's Archie walking into a room full of corpses and disembowelments, and in blood, painted on the wall is prologue. And I was like, oh, that's cool. I like when they do stuff like that. And then the rest of the issue is just feels like dream time.
Yeah.
It's just, I'm in this place in my dream, and I turn a corner, and I'm in now this place in my dream, which is completely different.
It's like they cut out all transition scenes.
Yeah.
Period.
Yep.
Like it's all beats and no bridges.
All beats, no meats.
Yeah, that's weird.
Oh, that is weird.
Yeah.
Now that I've said it out loud.
All beats.
But I'm sticking with it.
And no bridge between the beats. No actual like character or development between the larger beats. Like the very beginning, it just starts with like, I guess a scientist or something opens up a portal, and we've got this kind of like Mouth of Madness, Elfridge demon thing happening. Cool. But the text boxes are, the most delicious irony, science and technology, investigation and inquiry that intend to raise humanity to the heavens must invariably release. Like, you're flowery, and that's great, but it's not actually progressing or pushing the narrative that the pictures are. There's no, they're not in concert with each other.
It feels like a writer wrote an outline and then just gave it to an artist.
Yeah, like this was done in Marvel style.
Yeah,
Don't worry, I'll put the shit in later. Just
Just
here's the outline, draw it out.
Kooky shit.
Yeah.
So this was not for me.
Speaking of though, I liked the art more than I didn't though. So like there's a couple of scenes where the facial acting is a little off and I'm like, who am I looking at? But then there's also scenes where it slows down where he's in a library and it's so intricate and so beautiful and really well done. So like it's I like Megan Hutchinson's work. Mm-hmm. I really like Aubrey Sitterson's work too from previous stuff I've read of his, like No One Left to Fight and other stuff. He's written a bunch of really funny stuff that I really like. It feels like they just don't work well together.
Maybe, yeah.
So for me, it was. Have we ever had a not fresh?
I was getting ready to say like
unfresh. What's the rating for that? And like there's
stale. It's kind of stale.
Yeah,
it's all beets, no
like
meats.
Day-old bread, but without a discount.
Still
edible.
Yeah,
but you gotta toast it.
Yeah,
it's not great. As good.
Now, Noel.
Oh yeah.
You had a much busier comic book reading evening than I did. You read most of the store last night, apparently. So
I went horde.
How about if you give us the quick rundown on a couple of issues?
All right, let's talk about the ongoing stuff, right? Oh, here, you know what? Let's go with Blood Hunt #1. No, Union Jack the Ripper.
My favorite title of the week.
Blood Hunt #1 of 3, written by Kevin Scott with art by Kev Walker.
Oh, I like
my
Kev
guy,
Walker.
Kev Walker.
And Kevin Scott is a writer of some of the Star Wars novels.
Parental advisory, not for kids. So I don't know anything about Union Jack. Do you know anything about Union Jack?
He's British.
Yeah, he's a member of the Union.
Yeah, his name's maybe Jack. I don't know.
Apparently, he's a prick.
Oh yeah, is he?
Yeah, like he's just like an action guy and a prick and really mean.
Oh, I'm confusing him with Captain Britain.
Not Captain Britain.
Oh,
Union Jack.
I don't know anything about Union Jack.
He's a butt. But this is just him being murder man, fighting vampires across London, and saves a couple of like stragglers, and he's rude to them, and then you find out at the end he's keeping a secret. This is just solid tie-in shenanigans. Does it matter to the overall plot? No. Is it kind of fun and a really good like just horror action book? Yeah, it's solid. It's super solid. If my shop decided to pull all the Blood Hunt, this one I wouldn't be upset about.
Nice.
This is pretty solid.
Okay.
Yeah, it doesn't elevate the whole experience, but it's a nice little highlight on a character that I know nothing about, and I'm enjoying the mystery of it all.
Wonderful.
Yeah, really fun.
Nice.
Another book that is ongoing, kind of great. Void Rivals #9. A lot of people dropped off this, and they shouldn't have.
Yeah.
They just straight up shouldn't have. This is another spectacular issue. Not a spoiler that there's a Transformer on the cover.
Yep. I
don't know which Transformer that is.
I forget his name.
Steve. John the Transformer.
Yeah. But go on.
It is great. We anybody that hasn't been reading this book needs to pick up that first trade and just kind of jump on. It is a wonderful two warriors stranded two warring warriors stranded together to escape. They have to trust each other to escape, and then betrayal after betrayal, and they keep finding themselves together, and now they're on the run together, and it's in a world where Energon is a thing and Transformers exist, and they kind of find one. But there's a really funny passage in here about, so there's a character called Handroid.
Yeah. I love Handroid.
It's the main character's android glove that has a thing of its own. But they're talking about, they're wandering in the desert, and they're talking about, he saw this thing once, and he thinks this thing could help them. But I just want to read you the dialogue of the Handroid. Was the thing you saw here a large robotic being capable of shifting between different forms, just like the one that we saw on the desolate planetoid where we first encountered Sola? I love how you're developing a sense of humor, Handroid. He's being a prick to him, and it's
nice,
the best.
Nice.
This is a really fun book. Everyone should read it.
Brawn.
Is that the Transformers Brawn? Cool.
Yeah, he's like the green Jeep Transformer.
Maybe he's helpful, maybe he's not. Wonder Woman #9. This continues to be the best ongoing comic book in comic books today. It's so effing good. So the last 2 issues, at the end of the first arc, mild spoilers, Diana basically not submits herself, but is captured by the bad guy. Let's just say captured by the bad guy.
Sure, yeah.
So this arc has been basically her being tortured in various ways.
Oh, she's still being tortured?
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
And if it's a pattern from issue 8 to here, because 7 was a one-shot, a pattern between issue 8 and here, it seems as though Tom King is going through the effort of extolling the value of Wonder Woman by putting her through the ringer in all kinds of like new creative ways. And it ends up being kind of like a thesis on why Wonder Woman is so fucking awesome.
Oh,
this
nice.
book is
I was getting a little nervous because
absolutely phenomenal.
The last time Tom King did something like this, it felt like it was like Nightmare. It was like 6 issues of just Batman having nightmares.
Not this. No.
Okay, good.
That was masturbatory. This is for a point.
Wonderful. Okay,
Yeah.
cool. I haven't loved a Wonder Woman book so much since Brian Azzarello and Cliff Chang's run. I really like that run.
Which apparently doesn't age well, according to some people.
Yeah,
so whatever.
nothing does, according to some people.
Yeah. The last book I want to talk about is kind of out of nowhere. Blood Squad 7, number 1, Image Comics, written by Joe Casey with art by Paul Fry. Sorry. This is a weird egg. So I read the book. It's basically like a version of The Authority. It is the government putting together a covert team of air quotes superheroes, based off of a team of superheroes they did have working for them 30 years ago. So it's like some of the same, some legacy. That's just like they're getting back into the covert super people fighting in the Ukraine, right? Fighting Russia in the Ukraine, like real world politics. And then, so the issue just happens. It's like, this is pretty solid. That's fine. But then the letters page in the back, called Blood Squatting, written by Joe Casey.
Nice.
This is all wildly intentional. According to him, or not according to him, this is true. The first couple of years of Image was supposed to be shared universe. The Wildstorm characters, the Spawn, the Savage Dragon of it all. And for a couple of years it was, and he's basically talking about the heyday of all that.
Yeah.
This is his attempt to completely recapture and redo that without being able to use those characters.
Oh.
So I'm not exactly sure who these are supposed to be villains for. I'm assuming it's Wildcats or
Let me take a look.
Because for those of the people that don't know,
that's Youngblood.
Yeah, like Wildcats, Youngblood. A lot of those Wildstorm characters premiered at Image, but then those creators sold all of them to DC, and now they're under DC. Yep. So the idea of this Image shared universe. So he wanted to tell a story about like what's it like 30 years later, but he can't use any of those characters. So he's like, this. Consider this like an alternate version of how a shared universe would be after 30 years.
That's a neat idea.
Very neat idea. But also a really fucking specific idea that's only for very specific types of audiences.
Yeah.
So it reads pretty well. As somebody who has never read any of that stuff, just kind of knows about it for the purposes of comic book history. It reads pretty well. It's pretty strong. It reminded me a lot of The Wildstorm, the Ellis and John Davis Hunt kind of retelling of all of that stuff that happened a couple years ago. It's done like that. It's very straightforward. There's very little humor. It's just kind of like covert ops working in the White House and then them doing shitty things overseas all in like one day. But I liked it. I liked it a lot. It's a really good book.
Nice.
Yeah.
That's a very specific idea.
Super specific idea, and I think it kind of fell off everyone's radar. But my understanding, too, is that it's going to actually cross into, or at least feature, some of those characters that are still in play, like Savage Dragon and stuff.
Nice.
Yeah.
It kind of reminds me of Local Man.
A little bit.
That was something doing something a little
maybe Local Man will show up
similar.
Yeah. Because they can. So that was pretty fresh. Wonder Woman, very fresh. Void Rivals, fresh. And I think that was all. What else did I talk about?
Union Jack the Ripper.
Union Jack the Ripper, pretty fresh.
Nice.
Like a lot of really good comics this week.
Rook Exodus from Image, number 2, Ghost Machine by Jeff Johns and Jason Fabok with Brad Anderson and Rob Lee.
Ghost Machine is not a subtitle.
That's true. It is a imprint in Image.
The way you said that, Ghost Machine, Rook Exodus, Ghost Machine. No,
I was
Ghost
kind
Machine
of reading the cover.
I was going left to right, man.
So I was reading this. And as I'm reading it, I started having thoughts, which is new for me.
Don't do that. Don't do that.
And I was like,
Should I vote for? No.
A lot of these outfits like kind of don't make sense. They don't really make sense in the context of the world that they're in. I don't quite understand it. The helmets are a neat idea. They're kind of cool. We've got our main guy, Rook, who talks to birds and is able to control birds using the helmet. And then I noticed his outfit had spikes on it. Like he just had shoulder pads with spikes for a reason. And I thought...
Talons?
That's kind of neat. For a guy who hangs out with birds so much, he's got bird spikes on his shoulders so that no birds can land there. It reminded me of, people will put spikes on their roofs so that birds don't flock there. My man who talks to birds is like, no birds on me, man. And then it reminded me of...
I actually kind of like that.
What is the... maybe... Well, then I thought, oh, maybe it's like Boy and the Heron, where all of the parrots at the end, the parrot people, turn into parrots, and the two main characters are covered in bird shit. So maybe he's like, you know what? I'm tired of these birds shitting all over my dope costume. I'm going to put spikes on it so they don't sit on my shoulders.
You were thinking.
And then I thought, I know what this is. What a weird book. And I finally figured out what this is. This book is an edgy adult comic book about a 80s toy line / cartoon for kids in the way of like Silverhawks or Mask.
I'm going to paraphrase. So it's basically like Mask or Silverhawks or whatever run through a grimdark filter.
Yes. Yes. That's what this book is.
Because it is pretty ridiculous. Looks like it should sell toys.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I'm with that.
It just looked like designs were done. And like, oh, these designs are cool.
It's also
right around these designs.
It's also written like that too. And I don't know if this is a compliment or a dig. Everyone speaks in exposition.
Yeah.
Everyone.
Yeah.
To the point where it's like, okay, I get you. And I could imagine it being like poorly animated G.I. Joe characters running and being like, we can't let that happen because this happened at this part and this okay, relax.
So I kind of like it better now that I've got that lens on it.
Edgy G.I. Joe. Enjoy it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I don't dislike it. I was having fun reading it.
Yeah. I had a lot of... I don't dislike it.
Yeah.
It's not really my vibe in regards to like, I actually don't care about these people.
Yeah.
But I find the overall plot kind of fascinating.
Yeah.
But I don't know yet if it's fascinating I want to know or it's fascinating this is a train wreck.
Right.
It's still like on the edge of what kind of fascinating it is, but definitely worth reading.
It
feels like this is a like Tony Daniel didn't pass this over or passed it over.
Yeah.
Like it's very edgy.
Yeah.
It's very edgy.
Yeah. But yeah, I would say it's fresh enough.
Yeah, fresh enough.
Yeah.
Of all the Ghost Machine books we've sampled, this is my least favorite. Mm-hmm. But it's still strong.
Yeah.
Like it's still really well done. Fabok doing his
Best
Gary Frank.
Yeah.
Speaking of a book that's weird. Yeah.
What a way to lead into Cobra Commander from Image. This is issue number 5, the end of the miniseries. We just finished up Duke a couple of weeks ago, which was great. I've been really enjoying Cobra Commander. I believe that Noel has come around on Cobra Commander. It started a little rocky.
We'll find out now.
Yeah.
This is not issue... Well, what did you think?
I thought this was fun.
Okay.
Yeah. I think we had a bit of a time jump from the last issue to this issue. Cobra Commander has done some behind the scenesing, building up his army.
I take umbrage with this being issue 5.
It should be what?
This is issue 1 of something else all entirely.
I
like
see.
Issue 4 was so apparently issue 4 was basically the end of like that arc, that climax, where he broke away from Cobra Law and yay, I find out that Mars exists.
Yeah.
This is months later.
Like a year. Like he built
it's
a town.
a really long time later, jumps, and then it's just the setup for something else. The connective tissue between 4 and 5 is so minimal that I'm like, oh, okay. Like this should have been issue 1 of Cobra.
Cobra Commander 2. Yeah.
It's fine. This is like an in-between.
It didn't bother me. I enjoyed it.
It didn't bother me in regards to an ongoing story, but where the fuck is this going to continue? You know, like...
Cobra. Or Destro, I guess. Right?
I guess.
Destro's the next one.
Yeah, but like based off of the preview for that, it seems like the Destro book happens like before this.
Oh, I did not read the preview.
It's good.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think this was I think this was a weak finale to a solid miniseries.
I like this as a finale. I like the time jump. I like that, he did his thing. He went away for a little bit. He did all of his machinations. He built a town, etc. And then now he's back and he's meeting up with Destro. I thought this was really fun.
Even if it was, I think it's just like, again, this is like I get nitpick or form versus function thing. Even if this was Cobra Commander Special #1 and the miniseries ended at #4, but the impression I was getting was that it was going to be a direct continuation, and it's really just like a kick the can down the road, and a lot of story happened in between which wasn't hard to follow, but it still felt like a
surprise.
Surprise is positive. This felt more like a cheat.
Oh, okay.
To me,
didn't feel
it felt like a story cheat. Duke was fucking great, and this was like really strong in the middle.
Okay.
I'm excited about what's next. But I really hate the fact that issue 5 was 1 year later and yada-yada'd a shit ton of cool story.
Okay.
We yada-yada'd him amassing an army of sorts. We yada-yada'd him building a whole town. We yada-yada him basically being like a cult leader of some sorts to get these people to follow him. We yada-yada'd so much cool stuff.
Yeah, that's a whole nother miniseries.
I would rather have that as opposed to like, oh, by the way, we're going to skip a year so they could just meet.
Yeah.
I'm like, come on. It feels like a cheat. Okay. I enjoyed the plot, but I hated the progression of it from issue to issue.
Gotcha.
Like it really, I wanted more, and this didn't.
Gotcha.
It hurt. It hurt me. But there is one absolutely phenomenal panel where he reveals himself. Cobra Commander reveals himself, and we get 2 silver faces with a
reflecting
brief
off
reflection off of each other. And I'm like, that's just fun.
Yeah.
That is such a fun
really
panel.
Like that.
Yeah.
I also like.
Yeah. He gets
are
blood.
Those lasers?
Yeah. He gets blood splattered up. And like.
Yeah. It's fun.
There's a lot of great stuff that happens in this, but I got smacked in the face with the time jump that I honestly wasn't expecting. And then by the time the end of the issue happened, by the end of the issue, I felt cheated. Like I wanted that story too. Like why did we?
I felt a little bit like that about Firepower.
Yeah, that's fair.
The finale of Firepower. I was like, oh, wow, we learned all of this extra information in the last issue. I guess we're going to, we're seeding that for the next series of Firepower. And then it was like, time jump. Oh, wait, what?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, at least that's how Firepower started, too. Yeah. You had
that's true.
That OGN, and then all of a sudden, 15 years later. Yeah. You know what? It's an indication of a good book because I want more of it, not yada-yada less of it.
Yeah. Understood.
There's a lot of stuff, other stuff. This is an extra long episode. I'm sorry, but also you're welcome. There's a lot of stuff coming out today. What other stuff are you excited about reading? Spider-Man. Are you reading Spider-Man?
No.
Wow, you're a loser.
Not.
She-Hulk is great. It's out today.
I love She-Hulk. I got to catch up on that.
There's a new distillery book, White Boat, Scott Snyder with Francisco Francavilla.
I do not like Francisco Francavilla.
Yeah, you're the one.
It turns me off. I'm like,
I see that. It's fine. Yeah. I get that.
All right. Well, tonight on the podcast, on the live stream, which is not going to be live, we banked it. We're going to be talking about Mystery Men from
1999,
25 years ago. So yeah, join us for that, and we will talk. Oh, don't forget, we always forget to do this. The Omnibuds Facebook group. A delightful cadre of folks who share their loves for omnibuses and comics and all that, what have you. Go check them out on Facebook. Join them. Get in there. Buy an omnibus if you want.
It's like a happy cult.
Just like
it's fine.
Chat. Have a chitty chat. Thanks so much for hanging out with us, and we'll talk at you later.
Do.
Thank you for listening to the CultPop Network, home to podcasts, live shows, and a whole lot of fun stuff for every flavor of fan. Follow us wherever you find your favorite podcasts, and be sure to join us live every Wednesday night at youtube.com/CultPopGo at 8 p.m. Eastern. While you're there, be sure to subscribe to the channel and hit the bell icon so you'll know when we drop new Thunder Rounds and episodes of Fresh Floppies, a spoiler-free show about single-issue comics released each week. Until then, we'll talk at you later.